Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee will come to order. We have three bills today, 1202, 1257, and 1192. Mr. Gravy, please call the roll.
Representatives Basenecker.
Here.
Brooks. Jackson.
Excused.
Lindsay.
Here.
Wen.
Present.
Pascal.
Here.
Phillips.
Yes.
Richardson.
Here.
Sukla.
Here.
Velasco.
Excused.
Weinberg.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Excused.
Madam Chair.
Here. Thank you very much. We might have to start levying some fines, Mr. Gravy. We'll have to see. Anyway, we have our first bill of the day, which is 1202, Strategy to Reduce and Prevent Homelessness, and that is Representatives Rootnell and Sirota. Representative Rootnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee, for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to present House Bill 1202, and I'm grateful to be here alongside my co-prime sponsor, Representative Sirota. This bill is deeply personal for me. I'm the son of a single mom, grew up in a working class background. We worked hard every single day to make ends meet, but when the Great Recession hit, I remember when my mom walked into the room, opened up an envelope that said that the bank was foreclosing on our home. And I don't think that any child in the wealthiest nation in the world should have to hear her mom cry because of the economic anxiety of not knowing whether you're going to have food on the table or a roof over your child's head. Let me be clear about our current housing situation. There are people in Colorado working full-time, punching in every single day, who can't afford a roof over their heads. A renter in this state needs to make around $65,000 a year just to afford a one-bedroom apartment. If you're making minimum wage, that's 85 hours a week. 40% of people experiencing homelessness in Colorado have paying jobs. Let that sink in. You can do everything by the book in this state and still end up without a home. Homelessness jumped 30% in 1 year. Over 52,000 Coloradans sought housing and homelessness services in 2024 alone. And nearly half of all Colorado households, working families, seniors, people just trying to get by, earn under $75,000 a year and are spending so much on housing that it's draining billions of dollars out of the rest of our local economy. That's money not going to groceries, not going to childcare, nor small businesses. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Right now, our response to homelessness is fragmented. It's city by city, it's county by county, while the crisis crosses every boundary on the map. This bill changes that in three ways. First, it tells DOLA, come back to us with a proposal, a timeline, a budget, a strategy that brings the state, local governments, and service providers to the same table. Second, it gives local governments a tool they need, the ability to come together voluntarily and tackle homelessness as a region, not just as individual cities and counties fighting this alone. Third, it lets counties use fees they're already collecting on real estate transactions to build affordable housing in their own communities. No new fees, no tax increase, just a common sense to let local dollars address a local crisis. This bill was built with input from a broad coalition of organizations, many of which will be presenting today, that are on the front lines of this fight. The people doing the work are telling us they need these tools. It is time we listen. I respectfully ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am honored to have this opportunity to join Representative Rootnell in presenting this bill today, and I think he summed it up beautifully, both the problem and the strategy. And so I won't belabor the point. I think this is it is a simple and sensible piece of legislation, both to ensure that we are taking a statewide view of the problem, but also increasing the number of tools that our local governments have to be able to respond in a way that is voluntary and in a way that is appropriate to each local jurisdiction's unique challenges and methods for collaboration. And so I'm honored to join in this project with my co-prime and also the local advocates who have worked so hard to put forward this solution. We're happy to take questions, but I think you'll have a number of witnesses who can be very helpful in sharing more about their perspective in the development of these proposals.
Committee questions for the bill sponsors. Representative Stewart, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think this question is just about the Section 3, the documentary filing fees, and maybe directed to Rep. Sirota. Walk me through some of the assumptions that are being made in that section. I know the fiscal note assumes that there will be like very few fees that will actually be able to be potentially redirected, but just like curious your thoughts on the Tabor compliance and would just, yeah.
Sounds like a JBC-ish question. Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have any concerns relative to the constitutionality of this proposal or any violation of Tabor. This documentary fee already exists, and all we are saying is that for the allowable uses, if a local government wishes to direct some of this fee toward solutions for homelessness, then they're able to do so. It's just making it an allowable use instead of sometimes, it may just go into a county's general fund. And so if there are available dollars, it gives local government the opportunity to be able to utilize that.
Additional questions, committee? Do not see anyone. Any additional questions? All of our witnesses are in favor with one in amend position. So we will call up Kinsey Hastad, Bev Stables, Jason Hopfer, Kathy Alderman. And I see Ms. Alderman poised and ready. If you would begin, we're doing 3 minutes today. And if you could say, you know the drill, say who you are, who you represent, if anyone, and please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for having us today. My name is Kathy Alderman. I am the Chief Communications and Public Policy Officer for the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. We come in strong support today of House Bill 1202, and we really appreciate Representatives Rudnell and Sirota for bringing this really important piece of legislation. And we want to thank the many stakeholders that we've worked with to get this bill into the shape that it's in. Just last Wednesday, some of you may have been pulled off the floor by more than 80 advocates that came to the Capitol for our annual lobby day to support this bill. Many of those people were homeless service providers, healthcare providers, people working in the space. They were appreciative of your time, as am I, and I think it helps to show the broad support for this bill. We've come a long way in Colorado in making investments in housing and homelessness, especially since COVID. We've also continued to draw down on federal resources that are currently at risk. We've made one-time investments in programs and approaches that are just beginning to come to fruition. And those evidence-based models, including navigation centers, recovery campuses, better coordination among continuum of care organizations, and the better use of systems and data to understand and meaningfully respond to homelessness are likely to stand out as best practices and models for the country, frankly. But unfortunately, we continue to see homelessness rise in the face of an unprecedented housing crisis because we frankly, are just not making the investments in that housing for low-income households that we really need to see. And we think that House Bill 1202 will go a long way in helping to pave a path for addressing homelessness statewide. We think it's time to align those best practices with a full statewide strategy on preventing and ending homelessness in Colorado. Service providers, housing developers, and people with lived experience are ready to plug into a statewide strategy and effort to collaboratively and collectively impact change. By having DOLA propose the budget, a process, and a timeline for the development of the strategy, we're really laying the groundwork for long-term impactful change in this space. We also think this process will bring together the experts to ensure that our public resources are being invested in proven strategies that work. Allowing local governments to join together to address homelessness within their region will also empower our local communities to work collaboratively towards homelessness prevention and resolution strategies that are responsive to their specific local needs. Homeless response authorities with revenue and contracting authority across the state will allow local governments a flexible structure and pathway to tailor the best practices identified at the state level to address their unique needs. These authorities encourage partnership, collaboration, and coordination with state and federal entities to ensure all resources are deployed meaningfully and strategically. Finally, giving local governments additional flexibility around how they use their local resources just makes good sense. While the documentary fee collected at the local level will not be a boon for most local governments in addressing affordable housing and homelessness, it's just one more tool in their toolbox. So we urge a yes vote today. I'm happy to answer any questions, and again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, and Ms. Hasted.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kinsey Hasted, and I'm the Director of State and Local Policy for Enterprise Community Partners. Enterprise works nationwide and across Colorado to increase the supply of affordable homes and housing stability. We do so through capital investments, community programs, and policy work at all levels of government. I'm here today to also share Enterprise's strong support for House Bill 1202 and want to thank Representatives Routenell and Sirota for their leadership on this important bill. Enterprise has been contracted by DOLA to create a toolkit for local officials on homelessness prevention and response, which we've been grateful to collaborate on with our partners at CCH. We know that preventing and resolving homelessness requires scaling proven strategies like outreach, coordination with schools, and partnering with hospitals and healthcare providers. It also requires the critical partnership of local governments in understanding and responding to the needs of people at risk of or experiencing homelessness. This bill enables local governments who choose to do so to pool resources, engage with community-serving entities whose reach extends regionally, and otherwise coordinate their understanding of and response to homelessness, including by levying taxes to raise revenue for their joint activities, provided those taxes are approved by a majority of voters. We also know homelessness is a direct result of a lack of affordable housing. Enterprise is working to increase affordable housing in communities across the country, and communities need all the funding tools they can get to develop and preserve the affordable homes their residents require. House Bill 1202 will enable local governments who choose to do so to dedicate some percentage of the documentary fees collected by the clerk and recorder to addressing their community's affordable housing and homelessness needs. While we don't expect this to create a sudden windfall of funding, we do believe it is appropriate for local governments to have housing and homelessness as a permissible use of revenue collected specifically on real estate transactions. We appreciate your consideration today and urge your yes vote on House Bill 1202. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stables.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the community. My name is Bev Stables. I'm here on behalf of the Colorado Municipal League and our 271 member municipalities. I'm testifying today in strong support of House Bill 1202. I want to first express CML's sincere appreciation for the hard work of the sponsors and proponents, affordable housing advocates from Colorado Coalition for the Homeless and Enterprise Community Partners. We have had many productive discussions over the years on this bill and are really grateful for their commitment to this effort. As you well know, local governments are facing significant funding challenges amid state budget cuts and funding uncertainty. House Bill 1202 provides local governments with permissive funding options to address and reduce homelessness in our communities, and we sincerely appreciate the approach of partnership to address this problem. We strongly support the spirit of collaboration that this bill represents for local governments and the state to find solutions to our most critical challenges. Thank you again to the sponsors and proponents for bringing this bill forward, and I urge you to support House Bill 1202. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hopfer.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jason Hopfer. I'm here today testifying an amend position on House Bill 1202. Realtors strongly support thoughtful, durable solutions to address homelessness and expand affordable housing. Our members work in every corner of the state, and we understand the urgency of increasing supply and improving stability for all Coloradans. We appreciate the bill's broader intent to improve coordination and strengthen statewide strategy to address homelessness. However, we have significant constitutional concerns with the provision allowing counties to redirect a portion of the real estate documentary filing fee toward affordable housing programs. The documentary fee has long been structured as an administrative fee, one that offsets the costs of recording and maintaining real property documents. We also know that a fee must be related to the cost of a specific service that is being regulated. When revenue is used to fund broader public programs, even worthy ones like this, it is no longer functioning as a fee. Therefore, it was our request that this Section 3 be removed. And I do have a couple questions about it for folks. Like one, the difference, there was a bill several years ago now, back when Representative Zenzinger was in the legislature, if it gives you a sense. And Ledge Council at the time described that bill as being violating TAPER because it was seeking to raise the fee. Now here it's different. There's no raising the fee here. However, if a county is not debruced and has additional revenue, under TAPER, they should be either reducing that fee or returning it. If a county is debruced and then moving this from an administrative purpose to something else, that would, in our view, be a question that should go to the voters because it is no longer serving the purpose for which the fee was initiated. The Aspen case, which you might hear about, and this is the plastic bags, right, and recycling. In that case, the municipality created a municipal code that said they were going to charge a fee for recycling. And the court upheld that, but even when upholding that, saying if you're using it for a general purpose, it should go to the voters. And that's, I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, committee. 4 folks in front of us. Any questions? Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Hopper, then the permissive use, we're saying, oh, it's just, we're just allowing permission for local governments. If I'm hearing you correctly, it's like, okay, fine. If you haven't debruced, then what we're doing legislatively is essentially telling local governments that we've decided it's okay for you not to go to the voters and for you to violate the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Is that a fair assessment?
Mr. Hopfer.
I might say it a little differently, but yes, in that it would be our position that local governments could ask their voters to support affordable housing today. What they can't do is take an existing fee which people are using to buy and sell real estate and divert that money to other purposes that it's not for the purpose of supporting the administrative costs of buying and selling real estate for the county clerk.
Additional questions for this panel? I do not see any. Thank you very much for joining us. We have 2 folks on the next panel who are remote, Dr. Sarah Stella and Heather Stauffer, and then in person, Katie McKenna and Brian Rosbert. And is there anyone else in the room who wishes to testify on this bill? And if so, come forward. Okay. And Ms. McKenna, when you get settled, we will go to you. We're doing 3 minutes today. The button is at the base. Yes, please tell us who you are and who you represent, if anyone, and please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Katie McKenna, and I'm here on behalf of Archway Communities in support of House Bill 1202. Archway is a Colorado-based nonprofit affordable housing developer, owner, operator, and service provider. For more than 50 years, we've created and preserved affordable housing across our state with a strong focus on serving people resolving episodes of homelessness and supportive housing. Today, 47% of the residents we serve have experienced homelessness or extreme housing instability, and nearly half of our households know firsthand the trauma of not knowing where to live and trying to figure out how to access housing and services. One of the reasons that we appreciate this bill is that it recognizes the simple truth that people experiencing homelessness aren't thinking about jurisdictional boundaries. They're just trying to survive. Similarly, the root causes of homelessness, including housing costs and wages, healthcare access, behavioral health needs, among others, also cross these boundaries. When systems are fragmented, people fall through the cracks. And when they're coordinated, outcomes improve for all of us. This bill creates an important opportunity for a coordinated statewide strategy on homelessness prevention and resolution, identifying service gaps, mapping various housing resources, improving collaboration among continuums of care, strengthening our data systems. These are all things that will help ensure that resources can get to the people who need them most, regardless of jurisdictional boundaries. Allowing local governments to form multi-jurisdictional homelessness response authorities also provides practical tools for regional planning and funding, and giving counties the option, if they so choose and voters approve, to dedicate a portion of documentary filing fees allows us to operationalize plans. There's no question that Colorado needs more deeply affordable housing. But housing solutions work best when they're backed by a coordinated strategy, reliable funding, and strong partnerships. House Bill 26-1202 lays this framework. So on behalf of Archway Communities and the residents that we serve, we respectfully urge your support. Thank you for your time and leadership, and for the sponsors for bringing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good almost afternoon. I'm Brian Rosberg. I'm the Executive Director of Housing Colorado, a nonprofit membership association representing a wide range of affordable housing organizations, including frontline homeless service providers and others. To quote the title of a celebrated book, homelessness is a housing problem. That statement might seem simple and obvious, but is, in fact, not always a self-evident one. In order to tackle the thorny issue of homelessness, we must find solutions that solve for the systemic issues that keep folks from housing. We believe that House Bill 26-1202 is a good start towards arriving at those systems-level solutions, and I'm here to testify in support of the bill. House Bill 1202 proposes a three-pronged approach to strengthening the statewide homelessness resolution infrastructure, all of which we support. We are especially excited about the first step that the bill offers, tasking DOLA with creating a proposal for a homelessness resolution strategy. The state has an opportunity to take a leadership role in setting a strong vision for how to combat homelessness statewide. This proposal, which will be brought to the legislature as a part of DOLA's next SMART Act hearing, will enumerate the ways in which state and local government partners, along with homelessness service providers and others, can work together to reduce the rate of homelessness in our state. This strategy is a long time coming, and we are hopeful that the proposal DOLA will produce will be actionable in the very near future. We are equally excited about the possibility for local governments to partner together on coordinated regional strategies to resolve homelessness together. We know that homelessness and housing don't know the boundaries of political jurisdictions, and so the creation of multi-jurisdictional authorities to address homelessness across these lines will be a powerful tool in the arsenal of local governments. With the ability to go to voters for resources to address the different needs of regions throughout the state, regional homelessness response authorities will be better equipped to coordinate and respond to the challenges they face. Regional cooperation is key to meeting the moment, and we are confident that the flexibility that these authorities will enjoy will mean timely and responsive strategies to end homelessness quickly. Housing Colorado is thankful to the sponsors and proponents of House Bill 26-1202. We are hopeful that its passage and eventual enactment will mean our state makes progress towards the goal of ending homelessness in our state. Thank you for your time today, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you, and we'll go online to Dr. Stella. If you could unmute yourself, we're doing 3 minutes today. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Froelich and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Sarah Stella, and I am a hospitalist physician and director of Housing Outreach Partnerships and Engagement at Denver Health. And I'm here today in strong support of House Bill 26-1202. As a physician, I believe that housing is healthcare, and it is foundational to health and well-being. Support-centered housing models, including here in Colorado, have been shown to improve housing stability while increasing engagement in primary and preventative care and bringing down the cost of high-cost healthcare such as emergency department visits and hospitalizations. And although state and local governments have taken important steps to mitigate homelessness in our communities, there remains a critical need for statewide coordination and strategies. In my nearly 2 decades of providing acute care at Denver Health, I've cared for patients experiencing homelessness in nearly every part of the state. And I've seen what happens when people fall through the cracks that are sometimes more like gaping holes in between our systems and jurisdictions. And the human and economic costs of this poorly coordinated care are great. I've also seen, though, what can happen when we work collaboratively as partners in an ecosystem model in a way that allows us to use all of our strengths across different sectors to improve housing and health outcomes. And I'd really love to see more of it. I believe that House Bill 1202
Dr. Stella, we have you frozen. So, I think you're back.
Okay.
We'll give you a little bit of extra time to finish what you were saying. Maybe turn off your camera and then just proceed with just audio.
Strategy and coordination by creating a statewide plan on homelessness, allowing counties and municipalities to form regional authorities to more effectively respond to homelessness, and allowing documentary fees to be used for affordable housing. Intentional coordination at all levels of government, including continuums of care, housing and health partners, to prevent and resolve homelessness across the state would be a critical step in ensuring as many Coloradans are housed as possible. Again, Denver Health is urging you to support House Bill 26-1202, and I am here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Stauffer, we might be getting a little bit of freezing with you as well, but please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Heather Stauffer. I'm here on behalf of the City of Boulder. Thank you so much to the representatives, Sirota and Rootenell, sponsors, for bringing us this important bill. The City of Boulder is committed to finding meaningful solutions to address homelessness in our community and support the needs of our most vulnerable residents. As such, we continue to work extensively within the city and with our regional partners to expand pathways to permanent housing and retention for people experiencing homelessness, to expand access to programs and services to reduce or prevent homelessness, to support access to a continuum of basic services as part of a pathway to self-sufficiency and stability, and to support access to public information about homelessness and community solutions. As much as we are doing locally, we need statewide support in order to meaningfully address homelessness in our communities. House Bill 1202 provides local governments with additional tools to continue and enhance their work. One aspect of the bill that is very important and long overdue is the development of a statewide strategy on homelessness prevention and resolution. We are also thrilled to see that such a plan will include feedback from a diverse array of stakeholders, and we look forward to contributing to those efforts. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, committee. 2 folks online, 2 folks in front of us for questions. It's a sleepy afternoon over here in LSBA. Thank you very much for your time. We have one more person online, Ms. Meshke, if you want to come on and join us. We're doing 3 minutes today, and the bill is 1202.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Erin Meshke. I live in Boulder and represent myself. I've had a very busy morning, and this bill hearing began before I could get online, so I missed most of what has been said up to this point, and I'm sorry to not get into panels in the correct order. As with anything, it depends whose numbers you trust, as data from different sources tells a different story. Unsurprisingly, an accurate total of state spending on homelessness is not available online, much less an aggregate of spending, since former Mayor Hickenlooper declared that he would solve the problem in 2005 in the next decade. Given the billions of dollars Colorado has spent that I could find over the last 2 decades, all that investment has resulted in a 150% increase in chronic homelessness in the most recent decade. 78% of the bills that have been brought to the legislature have been passed in the last 6 years around homelessness and affordable housing. But we don't see reductions because you get more of what you incentivize. Emergency programs can be good to help people in unforeseen situations, but we have incentivized ineffective programs for too long. Continuing to pour into a problem we have not made significant impact against is an irresponsible use of taxpayer money. So I ask for your no vote on HB 26-1202. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Meshke? I don't see any. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's bring back our bill sponsors. We already did a call for witnesses. Any amendments? Any amendments, committee? Any amendments, committee? Seeing none, okay. I didn't know whether you were just being funny or... Okay, great. Representative Richardson.
Thank you, ma'am. And I've shared these with the sponsors. Mr. Gravy's got copies to pass out, but I'd like to move L002 to 1202.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
All right. And Alrighty. It's a relatively simple amendment. I know it's coming around. It strikes Section 3 of the bill, which allows use of the clerk's recording fee to fund this process. I know we heard a little bit of discussion, but the clerk's fee is, one, a relatively minor part of what this bill is seeking to use as funding. And in fact, if we relied only on the residual of what the clerk fee was after being used appropriately for administrative purposes, there's really not much left. But it is a concerning expansion of a fee that was specifically set in statute in 1967, specifically to cover the administrative costs of recording to ensure that values of homes as they were transferred were readily available to the assessor to use in their work. And I think, as noted, there was an attempt in a bill in 2017 that failed that would have used these fees to support affordable housing from CHAFA, something we continue to work on. But the fee in itself is truly established to support the administrative work of the clerks. In my county, the balance had grown, but we were focused on using it for what its purpose was, and that fee is now being used and has for the last several years for a kind of a mass digitization project to bring all our records back to 1874 online in a searchable manner, so they are readily accessible by all citizens, and absolutely, I feel, appropriate use of that fee. But to expand it, to start using it, it's kind of a general tax, almost in my mind, and I think arguably, regardless of, we are all entitled to opinions, but using it as a tax and the basis of this being recording of deeds of transfer essentially makes it a real estate transfer tax, which is barred under Tabor. And it's certainly an expansion of use. It's kind of the Willie Sutton, I rob banks because that's where the money is. We've got to stop going after little pockets of money that are intended for one thing and trying to use them as another. So I would recommend we stay away from that and focus on the homelessness problem that the rest of this bill addresses.
Representative Rudnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this amendment. We, of course, will be asking for a no vote on this, and it is because this is an essential component of dealing with the homelessness issue. We have an affordable housing crisis, and we need to be able to give our local governments the resources that they desperately need to be able to make the affordable housing stock that would prevent homelessness. I'll also note that this is something that the legislature has done in the past, and it is established precedent to be able to ensure that fees are adjusted to accommodate needs as we find them. This doesn't increase any taxes. It doesn't. I think that's the basics of it. I'll let Representative Sirota chime in as well.
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Richardson, for the amendment. We just, I think, have a disagreement about the Tabor argument here, and that this is a fee which was established in state statute in 1985 prior to Tabor. It is a fee. It is not a tax, which Tabor did call out in the real estate transfer tax, but it didn't choose to call this thing out, which was already part of state statute as a fee. And so we see those two things as distinct. And if anything, this proposal that we have today can bring this documentary fee in line with Tabor by specifically stating the ways in which it shall be used in offsetting these administrative costs for the things that it's regulating. And we think that there is a very clear nexus between the activity that they are regulating at the local level and how this money is spent. And so we are separately allowing local governments, if they choose, to use any excess fee for affordable housing and addressing homelessness. And real estate transactions certainly have a nexus to the cost of and availability of housing within a local jurisdiction. And I could go on, but it's just, we disagree. We think it's an allowable use, and so would ask for your no vote on L2.
We will take that as an objection, or I will raise an objection to the amendment. Any further questions for the amendment sponsor, Rep. Richardson? Okay, Mr. Gravy, please call the roll. We're voting on Amendment L2.
Representatives Basenecker.
No.
Brooks.
Yes.
Jackson.
No.
Lindsay.
No.
Wynn.
No.
Pascal.
Well, I can certainly understand the argument about the Tabor fee, and it took me a while to get where we were going, but I got it. But I was sort of hoping the amendment might be something like, if you're a Tabor, a county that has not debruced, of which there's only 13 left, that you have to take it to the voters. And I don't see anything in the bill that would preclude that county from taking it to the voters. So I'm going to be a no.
Okay, technically you're supposed to discuss before the vote, but that's okay. That was a...
I wasn't sure where I should jump in.
Yes, I'm sorry for not calling on you. And so that was a long no?
That was a no.
Okay. Continue, please, Mr. Gravy.
Phillips.
No.
Richardson.
Short yes.
Sukla.
Yes.
Velasco.
No.
Weinberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart.
No.
Madam Chair.
No, that fails on a vote of 9-4. Any other amendments, committee? Representative Richardson.
All right. Having disagreed on that, I would move L001 to House Bill 1202. Can I get a second?
Second. Moved and seconded. Representative Richardson, tell us about amendment number 1.
This is a slightly different amendment. It simply states that if you're going to use this fee in this newly approved manner, that you then can't go back as a county and raise your fee to cover other costs that may have been displaced because you chose to use this fee for this new use outside of administrative purposes. So essentially says if you're using it, it's because you've got excess and you can't go back and decide later that now I want to fund the stuff I was funding out of out of this fee.
Representative Rootnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this amendment. The fees are established at the statewide level at a rate of 0.01%. This, as a result, is a moot amendment. It's not relevant to our efforts here, and we would like a no vote.
Any additional comments? Representative Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, representatives. I guess I need some clarification on it. So, because the way I was reading it was, if the county decides to put that money into homeless, and then this amendment says, yeah, and then you can't raise from the number that you gave, 0.01, I don't recall the exact number. But so then this is saying that you can't raise it. So does that mean that is that possible currently? Meaning you put the money into homeless, and then like I would do that if I was the county. I'd be like, okay, well now I want to recoup those fees for my other stuff. So now I want to raise the fee. Is it possible to do that, or tell me I'm wrong?
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's like I've never been here before. So the way this amendment is drafted is just not. It's not functionally maybe doing what you're intending, because it's a statewide documentary fee, so it's set in state statute. If a county wanted to raise its fee separate to everyone else, it would have to do its own separate fee. This is something that's set in state statute, so the county's not changing state statute if they want to raise a new fee.
Representative Sirota, the documentary fee is levied statewide, and in your bill you contemplate local application of that fee for both municipalities and counties.
All localities, if they're putting a question, if they form these entities and then want to allocate these dollars in a particular way, then yes, there is agreement from them to do that.
Thank you. Any further? Representative Richardson.
Yeah. Just based on what I've heard, I'll withdraw this, and we'll chat again on seconds. Thanks.
Amendment 1 has been withdrawn. Any additional amendments? Seeing none, the amendment phase is complete. Wrap up. Bill sponsors. Representative Rootnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. I really appreciate it. Like I said at the top, and like so many of the folks that came here today have noted, we are in the midst of an affordability crisis, and housing is at the top of that list. And as a result, we have seen folks lose their homes, and that, in the richest nation in the world, should call into question so much of where our budgets stand. This is an opportunity for us to be able to give the resources to local governments that they desperately need to make the affordable housing stock that our neighbors desperately need. So I urge and I vote.
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, gratitude to my co-prime Rep. Rootnell for allowing me to join in this important piece of legislation to create both a statewide vision of how to address the problems of homelessness, and then these local tools for our toolkit to address the challenges we face as a state and local governments. I think these are simple and elegant solutions. I ask for your aye vote and support for House Bill 1202 today.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 26-1202 to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Nguyen. Comments before voting, committee. Representative Richardson.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sponsors. The problem you're trying to address is real. I get that, but I don't think the solution is simple and elegant. I think it's a bait and switch when it comes to fees paid by our residents. So I will be a no today.
Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. I'll disagree mildly with my colleague. I was going to say that I think there's some simplicity in it. The elegant piece of it I disagree with. So I have stated before, for those that have not heard me say it, allow me to, for a very short period of time, be repetitive, that I'm a lot closer through the efforts in my municipality, Castle Rock, and with where I sit there on the Douglas County Housing Partnership as a liaison to that board with the affordable piece. Call it workforce, call it attainable, whatever, reduced AMI. I think that there is a segment there that we need to work on quite a bit. So I'm in agreement with that. There are some pieces here that I disagree with. I think that you were probably able to see that. And I believe that this can work, but needs some work. I have also, risk of being repetitive, said this before, that I'm typically in a stance of no for today when there's something that's coming out of committee that I feel has merit but needs work, because all too often I've been disappointed to see something come out of committee and then yet not actually have any sort of reflection of the work that still yet needs to be done on it. So I'll be a no for today, but I will hope that we might be able to touch on, maybe redefine the elegance of some of these amendments and then work with the bill sponsors on them. Thank you.
Representative Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope everybody wants to prevent and address homelessness, and I believe that to be true. My concern was about Tabor violation, but I think you did, Rep. Sirota, you did a good job of explaining the concern about, is this a Tabor violation? So I'll be supporting.
Representative Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an incredible bill. I think right now we need to have all the tools available that we can use to address homelessness. A special district that local communities, I mean, getting CML on this is huge. And so I really respect and appreciate the sponsors and of course all the advocates bring this bill, because homelessness is a crisis. As someone who also experienced being unhoused myself, I think that we need to use every tool in the toolbox. And this is another tool. So thank you so much. I'll be a yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gravy, please call the roll.
Representatives Basenecker.
Yes.
Brooks.
No.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Wen.
Joyously, yes.
Pascal.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Richardson.
No.
Sukla.
No.
Velasco.
Yes.
Weinberg.
No.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, that passes on a vote of 9-4. Congratulations. You're on your way to the Committee of the Whole. Thank you for being with us. We will be joined by Representative Gonzalez for our next bill, which is a Rutinel Gonzalez effort, 1257. Just give a moment for folks to kind of reset. Who would like to tell us about 1257? Representative Gonzalez, welcome to this committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good afternoon. It is afternoon. Yes, it is. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present HB 26-1257. This bill fixes an unintended consequence of HB 24-1371, which was passed in 2024. That bill required background checks for all massage facility employees and set standards for both county and municipal massage facility licensure programs, including a provision that local programs couldn't be no more restrictive than state law. Though well-intentioned, it inadvertently stripped local governments from regulatory tools they had relied on for years to combat illicit activity. The sponsors of that bill did not intend the outcome. HB 26-1257 corrects it. The bill makes three targeted changes. First, it expands the definition of illicit massage business to include facilities engaged in crimes beyond human trafficking, such as drug distribution and money laundering. Under current law, local governments cannot act against a suspicious facility unless they can prove human trafficking. That bar is set so high that illicit operators can keep running while enforcement stalls. This change gives local governments a realistic path to action. Second, it removes the restriction that local ordinances be no more restrictive than state law. This restores the ability of municipalities to tailor their licensing programs to local conditions. high-density urban areas, tourist corridors, and communities with well-known concentrations of illicit massage-related activity may legitimately need stricter licensing requirements than a uniform statewide standard can provide. For example, standards that provide for local denial periods after a license is revoked, requirements that applicants document their right to the premises, and the ability to set allowable hours of operation are proven effective tools that the 2024 bill took off the table. Third, the bill removes the cap on administrative fees, allowing municipalities to set fees that reflect the actual cost of running a licensure program. The bill also includes a technical clarification confirming that statutory municipalities have authority to license and regulate massage facilities, a fix needed because the underlying statute was originally drafted to govern counties. Municipal licensure programs are the first in line of defense against criminal activity in these facilities. Local governments conduct inspections, run background checks, respond to complaints, and monitor compliance every day. They must have the full range of tools to do that work efficiently and effectively. HB 261257 is a targeted bill that restores that flexibility without mandating new programs on anyone. And we will have a few witnesses who can provide more details. We're happy to answer questions, but for now, I will turn it over to my co-prime, Representative Rudnell.
Representative Rudnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. I'm back. And this is for House Bill 26-1257. I think my fellow prime sponsor did a great job at laying out the provisions of the bill. I just want to touch on a little of the facts of why we're bringing this to you all today. This bill addresses serious issues around criminal activities happening at massage parlors, including human trafficking. According to the Polaris Project, more than 9,000 illicit massage businesses operate across the United States. They're fronts for human trafficking, drug distribution, and money laundering. And they're here in Colorado. In 2021, as many as 34 illicit parlors were identified in the Colorado Springs area alone. And when Aurora enacted a strong local licensing ordinance, the city shut down nearly 20 of these operations. But a 9 News investigation found that 7 of those businesses simply crossed city lines and reopened in Denver and Greeley. Local regulation is a powerful tool to address these concerns. The problem is that a 2024 law inadvertently stripped municipalities of the tools that make them do important work, as my prime sponsor stated. All in all, municipal licensure programs are the first line of defense. When they have the right tools, they shut down illicit operations. When those tools are taken away, illicit operators stay open, cycle through locations, and continue exploiting vulnerable people. This bill restores that flexibility without mandating new programs on anyone. We have witnesses to provide additional detail, and I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you, and we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Committee bill questions for the bill sponsors. Representative Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On Broomfield City Council, we had a similar charter bills of sort of resolution to address massage, parlors. And for me, this community is predominantly Asian American, Chinese immigrants, Vietnamese immigrants. A lot of them came and spoke to me before, and I'm going to ask you this: there's concerns that this could be used to target immigrants, people who are hardworking. And I guess my question to you is, I know this is addressing some loopholes that might have been unnecessarily done, but they're serious. They're immigrants who are worried that this might be used against them for their businesses. So, what can we say, or what does this bill does to protect immigrants who want to use this profession for their livelihood?
Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Nguyen. So I understand the concerns for what a lot of immigrant communities have, especially those minority-owned businesses. And that is not the intent of the bill. So I think we're going to make sure that we safeguard and have a thorough investigations working with municipalities at the state, counties levels to make sure that we're not disproportionately impacting these people. While I think that there are some that, hide under cover in a lot of these facilities, we have to understand in the culture we live in today, that is not the intent of what we want to do. I think there are people that exploit, other people from other countries that are bringing here. So I think we should highlight that, illustrate that. And I know CML also could have some points to address your concerns as well, but that is not the intent of the bill. And I think working with all partners involved, we will make sure that does not happen.
I do not see any additional questions. We just have 2 witnesses, so you guys can actually stay there if you'd like. Elizabeth Haskell and Trevor Vaughn, if you want to come up, or maybe, yeah, you want to, Representative Rudnos just scoot one seat over, or do something. I don't know. Dealer's choice. And Mr. Vaughn, I see you well prepared. So we're doing 3 minutes today. If you could say who you are, who you represent, if anyone, and we're doing 3 minutes, please proceed.
All right, thank you. I'm Trevor Vaughn, Manager of Licensing with the City of Aurora, and I've been with that position for some time. Probably about 8-9 years ago, one of our council members addressed that illicit sex and human trafficking businesses that were operating under the cover of massage therapy were operating in Aurora, and a lot of them. And so wanted to address that problem, and we worked with industry extensively and came up with an ordinance that was very effective that we passed in 2018 to license massage businesses. And this was based on what we saw being done in other states, other cities throughout the country, but hadn't been done in Colorado. And was very effective, removed almost 24 of these illicit operations, and was later basically the framework for what was adopted by the state in 2022 when I worked with Representative Terry Carver at the time, who wanted to provide that authority to counties because not only was it being used in Aurora, but started to be used in other cities as well as an effective measure in addressing this problem, which, as you've heard, is still a big problem nationwide and certainly in pockets of Colorado as well. And I could certainly send anybody that wants to see advertisements or any evidence of what's happening. But obviously very concerning. Human trafficking is very difficult to prove. The victims of it don't cooperate. When I've inspected these locations, they'll run out the business. And so what we did was use this as a methodology as it's proven effective. And unfortunately, in 2024, when it was identified that we hadn't gotten the proper authority for federal fingerprint background checks, which you want in this area because of the potential for international criminal elements that operate these networks gaining ownership in any of these businesses. The interpretation by the state agency at the time was that we had to have a uniform statute, which was not accurate and was later rejected by the FBI on those fingerprints, which was fixed last year in a bill, but that was not corrected as far as the unintended consequences in the 2024 bill, which restricted what home rule municipalities can do as far as regulation, which unfortunately, even going back to the 2022 bill, there were some flaws that were kind of made in compromises that I think really could have been improved as far as counties' ability to address this problem as well. We want to make sure that the counties have proper authority to address these issues. And so this bill fixes those issues for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Haskell.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Elizabeth Haskell. I am with CML, and I'm here today in support of House Bill 1257. I'd first like to thank the sponsors for their work on this bill and for supporting this important issue. I think my testimony is going to be somewhat redundant, but I will proceed anyway. Okay, municipalities have been regulating massage long before the state stepped in, building licensure programs from the ground up, tailoring them to local conditions, and developing the enforcement relationships needed to identify and shut down illicit activity. These programs work. House Bill 1257 is about making them continue to work. This bill corrects the unintended consequences of the House Bill 12-1371. The bill's primary focus was authorizing governments to conduct FBI fingerprint background checks on massage facility employees. The portions establishing a broader regulatory framework were based on a mistaken belief that the statewide scheme was required for FBI approval, a premise that turned out to be incorrect but only understood after the bill had passed. In setting those standards, the 2024 bill inadvertently capped the regulatory and enforcement tools available to local licensure programs that were already up and running, as well as any programs that came into effect after 2024. That was never the intent of the sponsors of the bill. House Bill 26-1257 restores flexible denial and revocation authority, the ability to set allowable hours, location denial periods after a license is revoked, and fee structures that cover the actual cost of running a program. These are not new or radical measures. They are the same kind of tools used in liquor licensing and other regulatory industries where local governments have long been trusted to exercise sound judgment. I also want to highlight something that is easily overlooked. Illicit massage facilities hurt legitimate massage businesses. Licensed professional massage therapists compete in the same market as these illicit operators and lose customers, reputation, and community trust because of them. Strong local enforcement protects the legitimate industries as well. Colorado municipalities are not asking for new powers. They're asking to get back what they had. House Bill 1257 restores the flexible community's need to address illicit activity in ways that reflect local conditions and local knowledge. CML respectfully urges your support. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee questions for Ms. Haskell or Mr. Vaughn? Representative Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One thought experiment I always ask is an option is that we don't do anything. The state doesn't pass this bill. What would happen for municipalities? Would they still be able to enforce illicit/illegal parlors, or is it truly in a situation where we have to hey, this is the only way we can move forward, the only way we can regulate, or rather not we, the municipalities can regulate massage parlors?
Ms. Haskell. Mr. Vaughn.
Yes, thank you for that question. Good question. The problem is the current statute creates some conflicts, and it does it without a state licensing agency to make interpretations on the statute. So when you have liquor, for example, you have dual licensure, and you have an agency that does regulations and makes interpretations. So there's, first of all, a problem with enforcing kind of what the statute did, which was create this limit, and if there's any challenges to that, how does that get litigated? The problem with what's in the statute further than that is it had some flaws with some of the things that we did to effectively eliminate the problem, which has actually been adopted even outside of Colorado, which includes things like a 24-month deferral if a location, for example, is an illicit, shut down for being an illicit parlor. We found that those locations will often turn over because there's a network. Somebody will take it over and keep operating with it. So we say no legitimate massage therapy business is going to want to take over an illicit operator's location. And so that's not in statute. That's in our ordinance. And so in theory, that would conflict with the state statute. And there's a few other examples that I have as well. Thank you.
Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. And I apologize if this had been addressed earlier. So a question to either one of you, or then also something to keep in the back of the minds of bill sponsors in case this is something that they feel like they could address in their closing comments. But I'm trying to figure out how recently last year's legislation for fairness in municipal courts was vetoed by the governor, but then that issue was before the Colorado Supreme Court, and the Colorado Supreme Court decided that a municipal court cannot exceed conforming fines or jail for conforming laws, period. And so now what I'm looking at is you're talking about local governments being able to get around that, and any local government, that fine, that cap, is going to end up in a municipal court. So I'm just curious how this supersedes the Colorado Supreme Court decision, which was recently issued.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yeah, so that's probably a little bit of a different issue because you're talking about an actual violation where there's a violation in state law. This is really the civil structure for licensure. So I think it's maybe distinguishable from what that situation is. And so this is kind of the outline of how you get licensure, but there is no state licensure for massage therapy businesses.
Additional,
maybe.
Oh, Ms. Haskell.
And maybe, are you asking that you're thinking we're creating a different crime or something that would be not?
Representative Brooks. Specifically around the fine structure, because I might be a little excuse me, might be a little confused on that variance, but just anything that involved a fine that exceeded, or giving local governments the opportunity to then increase a fine structure seemed like it might cross up a little bit with what I had heard previously, but I might be.
Right, and I think what Trevor was saying is it's a fine for a regulatory program, not a criminal court issue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Haskell, I think when we've been discussing this, that can you sort of explain the tools in the toolkit in this regulatory environment? I think some of the things that people in the community are asking for is operational hours, those sorts of things that are just about the benefit to the community in this, or maybe Mr. Vaughn can talk about what you've done in Aurora to put some parameters around these businesses, not to necessarily, not wholly about the fact of whether or not they're illicit, but to benefit the community in the way that, to make the businesses more harmonious with the community.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Elizabeth Haskell. I will let Trevor answer that, but I did have a handout that actually lists those, that if you're okay with me either bringing up here or starting over here.
We will do that while Mr. Vaughn sort of tells us what your statute looks like in terms of what you're regulating.
Yeah, so the objectives of the ordinance were to address things that illicit businesses do that the legitimate massage therapy facilities do not, and to really focus in on those and to remove any stigmatization of the legitimate businesses as part of that, because once you remove that environment, then people aren't going to confuse a legitimate business as, you know, potentially a place they can go to get illicit services. And so I think some of the concerns, if you have illicit operators that can just operate out in the open, is it creates an environment that encourages social disorder and crime. And especially if people kind of know what that is, which I think in a lot of these communities, some people kind of know, you know, it's kind of that wink, wink. I think that is what it is, and it may very well be. But I think what's advantaged, and I think Representative Wen had a great question earlier about how does that impact those from the Asian community, and it's something we've talked about with our Asian Pacific Development Partnership. And you know, the concerns is a lot of these individuals are from Asian countries that are victimized in this, but we also have a lot of legitimate massage therapy businesses in Aurora that are run by Asian individuals, and they've told us that they have issues with people coming in seeking these services, and so we want to remove the illicit operators so that these legitimate operators aren't stigmatized like that.
Representative Sukla, did you still have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So where I live, there's a lot of these, like one person in a house in the middle of a neighborhood. How would this address that? Would it be the same parameters of the license, and would there be any additional requirements if it's being done in a home?
Mr. Vaughn.
So in a home, it's treated a little bit differently, because the way these ordinances that we've written them in Colorado and the way the statute works and what people have copied is we exclude solo practitioners from licensure, assuming that they don't advertise for sexual services or do things that aren't legitimate. And so if they're inside a home, assuming it's permitted by zoning, generally they're left alone. We don't license them. What we're really worried about is human trafficking. So if it's an individual operator, it's a less likelihood of human trafficking.
I don't see any more questions for you. Thank you for joining us today. We'll bring up Mr. Meeks in an amend position. And if you can just find the button on the base of the microphone, and please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Froelich and members of the committee. My name's John Meeks. I am an attorney and policy advisor at Brownstein, and I'm here on behalf of the city of Colorado Springs today. I'm here to speak very narrowly to L1 that should we expect to be offered once we reach the amendment phase. I can echo what the prior panel said on the need for the legislation, but what L1 addresses is a issue also arising from the 2024 legislation, where it is not clear at what level of massage operation does every employee on premises need to be background checked and fingerprinted. When I say that, the spirit and the focus of the 2024 legislation was on standalone massage parlors. However, I think that there's a good faith interpretation under the 2024 bill that because under the 2024 bill, janitors, front desk receptionists of these facilities also need to be background checked and fingerprinted. What we've heard from members of our community is that the law could be read in such a broad way that a facility like a hotel or a resort that offers massage as an ancillary service. Think about the massage parlor or massage services at a facility like the Broadmoor, that the front desk receptionist or the concierge, because they are participating in some way with that massage activity, would also need to be background checked and fingerprinted under the 2024 bill. So what L1 does very simply says that if you're operating a hotel or resort with over 50 rooms, 50 room capacity, and you're only offering massage as an ancillary service, those individuals that are not directly participating in the massage activity do not need to be subject to the background checks and fingerprinting. I think it's simply just the lessening of what was a unclarified administrative burden on, again, some of these facilities that provide massage as an amenity rather than as a standalone business.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Meeks? Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to testify on House Bill 1257? Seeing none, the witness phase is complete. Amendments, bill sponsors. Thank you. While Mr. Gravy is handing that out, I'll have Vice Chair Stewart move amendment number 1. L1. Is that right?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L1 to House Bill 1257.
Did we get a second? Jackson. Wonderful. What's your name? No. Representative Gonzalez.
I think it's lunch hour, isn't it? Okay, so we have one amendment, L1. So all this does is, from the previous panelist, this addresses the concerns that Colorado Springs had. So as you know, some concerns with hotels like the Broadmoor, which I'm sure we all love for those of us who have been there. This amendment adds spas associated with hotels and resorts to the list of statutory exemptions. These facilities are similar to other existing exceptions and are currently exempt in local codes due to low probability of illicit activity. That's all this amendment does, and it'll appease the concerns of Colorado Springs.
Are there any questions about amendment number 1? Is there any objection to amendment number 1? Seeing none, amendment 1 is adopted. Additional amendments, bill sponsors? Any amendments, committee? Seeing none, the amendment phase is complete. Wrap up, bill sponsors. Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, and thank you to the people who testified today. I think what the committee heard reinforces why this bill is necessary. Local governments are not asking for new powers. They are asking to get back the tools they already had and used effectively before 2024. As you heard, when these tools are taken away, illicit operators are able to stay open, cycle through locations, and continue causing harm while other local officials are unable to act. The point about human trafficking is worth repeating. Proving human trafficking is extraordinarily difficult. Law enforcement will tell you that. Prosecutors will tell you that. And illicit operators know it. They count on it. Requiring the standard as the only path to enforcement is not a protection for legitimate businesses. It is a shield for illicit ones. What this bill does is simple. It restores flexibility. It lets municipalities set fees that cover their actual costs. It lets local licensing authorities use common sense tools like denying a license at a location where one was just revoked. This bill simply ensures that local governments have what they need to effectively protect vulnerable populations and their communities, and I respectfully ask for your yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Rudnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. And thank you to all the folks who came out to testify today. Really appreciate it. Like my fellow sponsor, Representative Gonzalez, noted, this is an important bill to give localities the flexibilities they need to stop some really horrific criminal activity. And this is a common sense bill, a technical cleanup that addresses some of the concerns that the 2024 bill brought up. We ask for your aye vote.
Representative Vice Chair Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1257 as amended to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Seconded by Jackson. Comments before voting, committee. Representative Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to emphasize that I appreciate the work you're doing. And of course, for me, this is near and dear because I know a lot of Asian Americans are part of this business. I just want to be absolutely clear that I'm not in favor of illegal, predatory businesses that basically use massage parlors for what accounts to be sex trafficking. So for me, I'm going to be a yes today. But I want to emphasize that a lot of Asian Americans, they're concerned. And I think that you've done a good job with explaining that this would close loopholes. This would actually incentivize and encourage legal practicing businesses and, of course, people who are owners and small business owners to practice their businesses. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Gravy, please call the roll.
Representatives Basenecker.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Nguyen.
Yes.
Pascal.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Sukla.
Yes.
Velasco.
Yes.
Weinberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Unanimous. Congratulations. You're on your way to the Committee of the Whole. We will move quickly to our last and next bill, which is 1192 by our committee's own Representative Phillips, and will be joined by Representative Barone. Thank you very much. Who would like to lead off telling us about 1192? Representative Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My district, which is South Thornton, has a very large unhoused population. And even for me, a lot of people have stories about experiencing homelessness themselves. And it doesn't mean that you're living out in the open space, by where I live, and we have a lot of homeless camps there. It could be people like me. I was kicked out of the house when I was 15 years old, and it just means you don't have a place to live. It's not necessarily homeless encampments. And so when we talk about homeless, I just want to kind of expand our visual about what that looks like. A lot of community members, a lot of people in the state of Colorado, they donate $1 on their income tax return, where you can check, like, who do you want to donate to? So one of the boxes you can check is for homeless prevention, and that's what this bill is about. So when the taxpayers check that box and donate for homeless prevention, we want those funds to support the homeless prevention programs without barriers. So what this bill does is it reduces administrative burdens so that those funds can get out in a more effective way regarding homeless prevention. So please support homeless prevention expedition of funds that taxpayers choose to contribute.
Representative Barone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's good to be back in the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government room. Now, I'm not just another pretty face on the bill. You're about to hear one of the best bills this session. And I know I say that a lot, but it's true. Homelessness is an issue that both sides of the aisle agree on. We want to prevent homelessness. We want to lower the homelessness rate. That's something that we find in common. I personally support homelessness prevention. This bill simply streamlines the process. The money comes from that, as my co-prime said, money comes from the check of the box that when you do your state taxes. You can donate if you want to, and I personally do. I see it. So it's $1. You can donate more if you want. On the other side, on any other, what is it called, nonprofits that help with homelessness. This bill basically just removes a barrier. It makes it streamlined to where that money goes to where it needs to be more in a timely manner. So I urge an aye vote.
Any questions for the bill sponsors committee? No. We will move on to witnesses then. I think we have enough that you guys need to vacate. We have 3, I believe, although, anyway, so we'll just bring up Laurel Varel. This is Division of Housing, Department of Local Affairs for questions only. We'll have you state what those questions might be and what your expertise is, so please come up. And then Shelby Hugadike, and Nellie Stagg. And then Ms. Hugadike. I have a constituent with that last name, but I don't. Okay, maybe they aren't able to make it today. So we will go with Ms. Stagg and then Ms. Varinel. Tell us what questions we might ask you and what your expertise is. So first, Ms. Stagg, for 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee, for this opportunity to present to you today. My name is Nellie Stagg, representing the Department of Local Affairs. I serve as the Associate Office Director for the Office of Homeless Initiatives. DOLA is in full support of this bill, and I would like to thank Representatives Phillips and Barone for their leadership in supporting this legislation. At DOLA, we are constantly seeking to improve government efficiency and maximize the impact of the resources that we have. This bill provides a simple, budget-neutral path to modernize a small program that has become administratively outdated. The Homeless Prevention Activities Program, or HPAP, is a resource made possible by the generosity of Coloradans who donate to support homelessness prevention through a state income tax checkoff. While HPAP was DOLA's primary source of prevention funding when it was created, the $200,000 to $300,000 that we receive today represents only 1% of our agency's total prevention budget. Because of the current statute mandates a standalone advisory committee, DOLA must manage HPAP as a siloed program. Maintaining an advisory committee in a separate application process for a program that serves fewer than 100 households annually is no longer an efficient use of state resources or our volunteers' time. This bill fixes that issue by eliminating the requirement for a standalone committee. This would allow DOLA to integrate these funds into our larger eviction prevention infrastructure, and by doing so, we remove the red tape both for the state and our nonprofit partners. With eviction filings remaining at record high levels, we cannot justify maintaining slow, duplicative administrative structures for small pots of money. Consolidating this program ensures that donor dollars reach families in need as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, and please tell us your expertise and what questions we might ask.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Laurel Varnell. I'm the Director for the Office of Housing Recovery within the Division of Housing, and I oversee the Colorado Emergency Rental Assistance Program, so happy to answer any questions specifically about that program. Thank you.
Committee, questions for these witnesses? Representative Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your time, for the work you do. As a former state employee, I recognize that it's amazing to have good people working in our state. My question is, where does this money go already? And so I think I just want to understand the efficiency of this process and why this is a good bill.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm sorry.
No worries. Ms. Stagg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative. It's a great question. So we currently manage the Homeless Prevention Activities Program. It's a very small program. We currently have 12 grantees. Those awards range from $20,000 to $35,000. They're serving a piecemeal kind of portion of the state. Again, it's really small funding, and right now it's limited to those counties that are served by those awards. Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, so thank you very much. Last call for anyone in the room who wishes to testify on House Bill 1192. Seeing none, the witness phase is complete. Thank you for joining us. We will move to amendments. Bill sponsors, any amendments? Any amendments committee? Seeing none, the amendment phase is complete. Wrap up, bill sponsors. Who wants to go first? Representative Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Department of Local Affairs will continue to receive robust strategic guidance and oversight through existing channels, which includes the State Housing Board, the Balance of State Continuum of Care, COC, and other ongoing stakeholder engagements. This bill simply integrates all of this into more effective established structures, and we appreciate your support.
Representative Barone.
I concur.
Uh,
Good bill, vote yes. Exactly.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Thank you, Pascal.
Oh,
I move HB 26.
So sorry, Representative Phillips.
I move HB 261192.
second.
To the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Moved and seconded by several people. One hallmark moment, please. And any comments before voting, committee? Seeing none, Mr. Gravy, please call the roll.
Representatives Basenecker.
Yes.
Brooks.
Pass.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Wen.
Yes.
Pascal.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Sukla.
Yes.
Velasco.
Yes.
Weinberg.
No.
Vice Chair Stewart.
Yes.
Brooks.
No.
Madam Chair.
Yes, that passes 11 to 2. That's what I thought. Math is hard. Thank you very much. That passes 11 to 2. Congratulations. You're on your way to the Committee of the Whole. Committee will meet again tomorrow at 1:30 in this room.